today is this car is coming along more and more each day. Now that we have the strut switched out, we have the steering fixed, blah blah blah, we have the bumper on, we have all the motor mounts dealt with, it's time for exhaust. How I did this right now is it still has almost a full exhaust system on it. I did cut the exhaust off right before the gas tank, so it still has a catalytic converter and I believe a resonator on it, but it does not have a muffler. And I do that on a lot of my cars. One, because I usually leave the last hanger underneath, so wherever the exhaust is fully supported, that's where I'll cut. If there's no hangers, I'll cut off the exhaust way close to the front. But the reason I do that is I want as much heat away from the engine bay as possible. But because we're getting more and more into these Toyota Camrys, you guys may have watched one of my older videos and realized that we bought a header. And today we're going to install it. This is a Jeffy's Fab Farm header. I have not installed it yet. It looks like it's a pretty heavy duty quality. The only thing that I did not like about this is he didn't deburr inside of here. That's not a big deal. I'm going to do that before I install it. But I did cut my hand on this pretty good and I did bleed everywhere. But you know what? He makes a lot of these headers and he's probably just in a rush. But other than that, it looks to be a good quality. I painted it. But other than that, we're going to get this thing installed here in no time. I'm going to start this thing up with the exhaust system that's on it so you guys can hear how loud it is. I'll do an above the hood just to see what you guys think its loudness is like. And then we'll put the header on and then we'll see how loud it is then. Main reason for a header is you don't want anything underneath the car. Whatever you can eliminate underneath the car would give you more ground clearance, which is nice. And another reason for the header is it takes the heat and it gets it out of the engine bay as fast as possible. Your stock manifold is going to keep the heat in it and it's going to put more heat underneath the engine bay, which is not a good thing. You want to get that heat out of the engine bay as fast as possible. More heat in here, the faster this thing's going to heat up. The faster you can get the hot air out of the engine bay, the longer it's going to take to overheat. Headers do kind of have a downfall every now and then. They do get very hot, and if you're not careful and something goes up against it, you're going to melt that thing to it and maybe cause a fire. So you always have to be cautious of what you're putting around the manifold as well, and especially headers, because headers get very hot. I was stupid in the past once, and I did grab a header when I wasn't paying attention. I was in a rush, and I put my hand on it, and it did pretty much burn the whole center of my hand out. So you have to be careful. Let's get this thing started and see what it sounds like with a catalytic converter and a resonator. So there you go. This thing's running. It sounds pretty good, to be honest, but when you're in the engine, in the derby ring, you're not going to be able to hear it. Let's give it a little bit of a rest. I'm not hearing too much exhaust. I'm mostly hearing motor. So let's get this thing turned off. We'll get it jacked up and we'll cut the exhaust off much, much closer, eliminating the cat and see what that sounds like. Oh, I forgot about the engine stand, the jack stand. Okay, so she's back down on the ground, and this is what we just cut out. The catalytic converter, an O2 sensor that we don't need, and an exhaust hanger that we don't need. So let's fire it up now and see how loud this thing is. Quite a bit louder. This is right after the flex pipe now. That sounds like a derby car. But what the problem is when you're in the derby ring, you can't hear that. You can't hear your car. Even with the hood header, sometimes it's very hard to hear your car. So before this factory exhaust manifold gets too hot, I want to remove it, because I don't want to burn my hands. Now to remove this manifold, we're going to remove the heat shield, which is actually starting to get quite hot. There's one brace right here that we're going to undo the bolt to, and then we're going to undo it from the motor. Now every car is different, and that's the hard part about doing this, is telling you how to install a header. But like if it's a V6, you got to pull the motor head to do the backside. Some Cavaliers, you have to cut the alternator bracket for the headers. But for Camrys, this is a pretty much remove and put on there. But for every car, you're going to have to remove either the factory header or build a pipe that comes off the downpipe and then an upward. So no matter what, you're going to have to modify. So let's start modifying this and taking it off. So let's fire this thing up with no header and see how loud it is. Something tells me loud. Not as loud as I thought it was going to be honest. That's pretty cool. So now that we've had some open header fun and kind of got my armpit burnt a little bit there, we're going to install this header now. It's actually built on the correct angle so that the header is 100% vertical. So I'm going to leave all the factory bushings, the factory gaskets in there. I'm just going to push this thing on, just like that. Now, I don't want to tighten any bolts until I have them all in, because as soon as you do that, then shit goes bad. So we're just going to basically just finger tight everything as of right now. Just like this. And then we're going to tighten it down. I guess we need a swivel now. So there you go, we do have the header installed now. We have not cut the hood for it, so that would be, I guess, the next task to do after this. But the header's installed, it's bolted down, exhaust, manifold gaskets on there. Let's start it up and see how it sounds with the header on. That sounds great. It's actually loud enough to hurt my eardrums. I think that's louder than it was just when it was just an open header. Maybe it's because it's hitting the hood and coming right at my ears, but that's loud. Wow, is that loud? But with this installed now, sorry, I'm kind of yelling a bit because how much that just hurt my eardrums, but with this header installed now, all this high temp paint that I did spend the time to put on it will get burnt off in no time. But the heat from this header is going to come right out of the motor and up. it's not going to want to do anything else. So this is going to get the heat out of the engine bay as fast and as efficient as possible. If you notice, there's no O2 sensor in this. I think I asked for one with an O2 sensor, but I didn't get it. So I know you don't need the O2 sensors for these Camrys, and that's probably why it didn't come with it. It's because you don't need it. But something tells me that I should put one into it. I don't know why. Maybe I'll buy a Weldon Bung and just put the factory O2 sensor back into this thing, just to try to help that engine stay alive as long as it can by letting it know what's going on. But thanks for watching. I hurt my eardrums today, that's for sure. But the header's installed. Now we just got to cut out the hood and let it so this thing can breathe through the hood, because right now the hood ain't going to close. Thanks for watching Zach's Workshop, guys. Be sure to leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.